A so-called pro-family, tough-on-crime Republican was apparently pretty lenient on pedophiles. So Russell Coleman, GOP candidate for Kentucky Attorney General, has campaigned as a protector of children. I'm going to protect your children against the pedophiles, the predators. However, his record doesn't seem to reflect that. In fact, his record, pretty lenient. In May, he announced his campaign with this message: "My priority is the same as President Trump's." Oh, here we go. Make America safe again by stopping the people who are poisoning our communities with deadly drugs and using technology to target our kids, parents, and grandparents. So, is he going after pharmaceutical companies who are poisoning communities? Of course not. No. I'm assuming something to do with immigration. Now, as Attorney General, he says, "I will never stop working to protect our families, uphold our conservative values, and protect our constitutional freedoms." That said, when you look at his record as a U.S. attorney, he was quite lenient on sex offenders that specifically targeted children. The New Republic explains that back in 2017, then President Trump appointed Coleman as U.S. attorney, and he had served in that office until January of 2021. During his tenure, Coleman acted as the area's chief law enforcement officer. Part of his job ensured that laws were faithfully executed, as well as setting sentencing recommendations in plea agreements. However, while serving as U.S. attorney, Coleman offered at least 48 plea agreements for people accused of exploitation or of sexual offenses against children. Nearly half of those agreements included dismissing certain charges or recommended sentences far weaker than those the judge ultimately issued, the latter of which rarely happens. So they get into some examples. For example, there's United States versus Leeser. And so this, in this case, Brian Leeser had possession of a tablet that had search history that included multiple terms related to child pornography and sexual exploitation. He'd visited these websites, and at the time, he was already serving a 10-year supervised release sentence after pleading guilty to one count of receiving child pornography back in 2005. He had served 70 months in jail. He was charged in July of 2019 with attempted receipt of child pornography and accessing with intent to view it. Coleman decided to offer him a deal. In exchange for a guilty plea, the charge of attempted receipt of child pornography would be dropped, and he also would end up going to prison for only 10 years and be free to go. With no supervised release, a judge decided, no, not good enough, 10 years in prison and a lifetime of supervised release. And a lot of the other examples here are pretty much the same, okay? Prison time, but no supervised release. So very, very interesting. So again, sure, you serve your time, and then once you're out, apparently Coleman thinks, you're not going to reoffend. Why are we going to do supervised release on you? Well, that's to make sure that you don't reoffend, or if you do, that we catch you, you see. So this happens to be, again, a pattern with Coleman's plea agreements, including ones for a person who had solicited a 14-year-old for naked images. Now that, of course, 14-year-old was actually a Fed, and that's how he got caught. And so this person, Stephen Beauchamp, was charged in December that year. This was actually in 2017, of knowingly attempting to employ, use, persuade, induce, entice, or coerce any minor to engage in sexually explicit conduct for the purpose of producing any visual depiction, knowingly attempted to persuade, induce, and entice an individual who had not attained the age of 18 years to engage in sexual activity for which a person may be charged with a criminal offense and distribution of child pornography. In that case, Coleman offered Beauchamp a plea agreement for between 15 and 17 and a half years and no supervised release. A judge sentenced Beauchamp in July of 2018 to 17 and a half years and 20 years of supervised release. So, once again, Coleman was like, no supervised release. They're fine. They're fine. Whereas the judge was like, no, these people, most of them are pretty likely to reoffend, so they're a danger, so we got to watch them. So Coleman, though, kept, again, offering those weak plea agreements. Judges have to reject them. And in fact, in total, Coleman offered 21 such plea agreements. And yet, now, since he's campaigning, he's like, well, you know who's soft on crime? Ha, it's the left. Wait, what? Specifically, calling out woke prosecutors, so-called woke prosecutors. So already we have, entered into the wokers, the argument, okay? Quote, woke prosecutors cannot create their own version of right and wrong. Families will never truly be safe if progressive officials can look the other way when a law doesn't align with their political beliefs, he said in a statement last September. Okay. So now here's the thing. Look, violent crime in Kentucky actually dropped 10% in 2022, according to a state law enforcement report released in July. So who are these woke prosecutors that are not going after crimes? Weird. Now here's where it gets worse. Not only is he blaming woke for an imagined rise in crime, but he's also spreading essentially the right-wing groomer smear against the LGBTQ+ community. So basically going after gender-affirming care for both young people and adults. So that's where he's going after, to protect children, right? That's what he's doing to so-called protect children. Oh yeah, no, I got to protect them from gender-affirming care, from pronouns, from changing your name, or starting hormones. Yes, that's what we're going to do to protect children. But giving pretty nice plea deals to actual pedophiles, no problem there. Nope, let's just keep doing that. So understand what is going on here. Weak on sentencing for actual pedophiles, but when it comes to, again, gender-affirming care for trans children, that's where he's going to be super tough. That's where he's going to throw the book, okay? And if he becomes the attorney general in Kentucky, well, guess what? He's going to have the power to do it.